Grandma Roseanne, and we're going to make chicken Marcella today, which is an absolute favorite of mine. So many times when I go into an Italian restaurant, that's all I want is chicken Marcella. So what we're going to do is we're going to work with chicken breasts here today. Now the chicken breasts that I have are humongous. And what you want is boneless, skinless chicken breasts. But it's just cameraman and I, so this is way too much for us. But the recipe, it calls for 2 full chicken breasts, okay? I'm using 1, but I'm not cutting the recipe in half. Everything is going to be for 2 chicken breasts. So just know that you can do 2, and this recipe will be perfect for you. So while I'm wrapping this up, remember to subscribe, hit the like button, remember to hit that little bell because we're posting every single day and you won't miss out on anything. Now, what I did, because that breast was huge, and on a chicken breast you have the thick part and then it narrows down. Well, I'm concerned about cooking time. So what I did is I took the breast this way, I split it this way. So now I have, and then I took the bottom piece. So now this is 1 breast, which I have cut into 3 pieces so that all of it is going to cook at the same time. All right, so the first thing we're going to want to do is we want to get the dry ingredients together. Now I've got them all portioned out, but I'll tell you what they are. This is 3 tablespoons of flour, 1/4 teaspoon of salt. Well, I guess if your cup is a little wet on the bottom, your salt wants to stick there. Okay. And then we have 1/4 teaspoon of garlic powder. You know what? I think cameraman washed my bowls for me, which I appreciated, cameraman, but I didn't know they were still wet. And 1/4 teaspoon of garlic powder, so that was onion powder, garlic powder. 1/2 teaspoon of pepper, and 1/2 teaspoon of paprika. Now, when you have all those amazing ingredients together, how can it not be spectacular? So now we just mix it up so everything's well incorporated. Just like that. Now, what you can just hang right there, but what I'm going to do is just turn on my range top because I want that grease to start getting hot. In my skillet there, I have 3 tablespoons of oil, just canola, okay? Now that is complete. Now we need 1 egg, and we're going to beat that up. Just like that. So we have our wet ingredients, our dry ingredients, and we are going to move over to the range. We want this to be up to temperature. So if you're going to fry, you want to fry at 350 degrees to 375 degrees. So I want to see where we are. And we're at 337. Slick. You need one of these. But honestly, nobody needs one of these. But if you have one, it really keeps it nice because you can keep your temperature exactly where you need it to be. Now, if you don't have one of these slick little tools, you just watch the oil, and when it kind of starts to ripple, it'll ripple just before it starts to smoke. That's about between 350 and 375. You're perfect. Okay. Let me take another quick look here. Now, see how important it is? That quick, it went up to 411. 411 is a little hotter than I wanted, so I'm going to bring it down just a little bit. Now what we're going to do is we're going to dip it in the wet. Dip it in the dry. Get it nice and coated. Just like that. And pop it in. And because these are all at the same thickness, the important thing here is that they are all going to cook. at the same time. They'll be done at the same time. You know, chicken is done when it's about 165 degrees internal temperature. If you need to take that internal temperature, you'll know that the chicken, without fail, is completely cooked. Now, take a look at this, you guys. Because I did that recipe according to the instructions on it, but if I had full chicken breast in there, that wouldn't be enough for 2 chicken breasts. So if I was making this again, I've made Marcella many times, I just haven't done it with this particular breading. But if I was doing it again, I would most definitely double the dry ingredients. I would do that. Internal temperature again, 335. Do you see how your temperature can fluctuate? So I'm going to kick it up a little bit, get it back up to where I want it. Now every time you put in a piece of fish or a piece of chicken or a piece of beef or a potato, you're going to decrease that temperature. So you always want to keep that temperature as close to the 350, 365 mark as you can possibly get it. So this will tell us. Now the other thing I want you to be careful of, we're right back up to 350 now. The one thing I want you to be careful of when you're trying to brown something, leave it alone. Don't go messing around with it. And that's the hardest thing in the world for me to do because I want to be moving it and touching it and peeking underneath. Just let it rest. Let it brown. Because if you're starting to move it around continually, you're not going to get that crust on it that you're really looking for. And also when you're frying chicken, you're going to have a presentation side. That's the side that you want up on the plate. The first side that you fry is always going to be your presentation. For whatever reason, it conducts the heat better. It's going in at the right temperature. You're able to control it all the way through. So that's usually the one, when you flip it over, that's generally going to be what's sitting down on the plate. And we want our food to be pretty because we eat with all of our senses, not just our taste. It's our vision, our eyes, the texture, how does it feel in our mouth, the smell, the fragrance of that food. We eat with all of our senses. Now that's coming along, but I'm not going to disrupt it. I'm just going to watch it. Well, I think we're doing pretty good on one side, so we are going to flip. Oh, look at that. Beautiful. That's got a nice little crust on it. Our chicken is cooking. Cameraman and I like this served over pasta because we like the sauce that comes with it. So I've started a pan of water here, and I'm just going to put quite a bit of salt in. And remember, when you're salting pasta, that's the only time that it's going to have the ability to accept the seasoning is while it's boiling. So don't be afraid to use a generous amount of salt in there. So this is still coming along really nice. I've had to adjust the temperature a few times because it dropped and I brought it back up. So it's really nice to be able to keep it at a stable temperature if you have the ability to do that. All right, so now we are at 165 on the 2 thinner pieces, so I'm going to transfer those over to a rack. They're just going to sit there for a little bit. And this one that's a little bit larger needs a few more minutes, so we're going to give it that. We want, on chicken especially, you guys, we want to make sure that everything is at the right temperature for safety. So 165 is what we're looking at. Now, just as I'm waiting for this little bit to finish here, it'll be just another couple minutes, what I want you to be very careful of is do not wash out the pan. We have got all of the drippings down here, and we have the fond down here, and the fond is the crusty stuff that comes off of the chicken that sticks to the pan. Now, the reason you want fond is because that is the best flavor ever. It will totally enhance the rest of the sauce. So we're just going to leave that in there. Now I'm going to check again, and if you're checking with a thermometer, which I think is always a good thing with meat, what you want to do, if it's a small piece like this, if you go in straight down, chances are you're gonna hit the bottom of the pan. So you wanna go into the side of it and come into the middle of it, just like that. And we're at 162, 163, 165. So we're good here. So this comes out, and it's just over here with its buddies. Now see, one chicken breast it's a half a chicken breast for just my husband and I. That's more than enough for us. Now what we want to do is just lower the temperature slightly. We have got a nice coating of flavor in there. We're going to add 1 tablespoon of butter, because that is a richness that just absolutely develops everything. You want to pick up all of that fond down there. Scrape it up. That's all going to be a part of the sauce. Now we have 1 onion that I have sliced, and we're going to cook that down. I love onions, and I love shallots, and I love garlic. I love all of those seasonings that are just amazing. We don't want these to caramelize, so we're not going to let them go all the way to that, very healthy, beautiful brown caramelization stage. But we do want them softened. We do want them sweating. I'm going to be adding garlic, and it calls for 3 cloves of garlic. Now, you never, ever put the garlic in first. Do not do that. It will burn. And you don't put the garlic and onions in together, because the garlic will burn once again. And if garlic burns when you're cooking like this, honestly, you just have to toss it and start all over again, because that burnt garlic is going to go throughout your entire dish, and it's not going to be very good. When I'm using garlic, and it calls for cloves of garlic or sliced garlic, that's what I use. But what I did is I made a garlic paste. And I do have a video up showing you how to do that. I love using a garlic paste, I really do. And it's nothing more. If you want to go in and look at the video, it'll tell you exactly how to do it. And you can do it by hand. If you have a mortar and pestle, you put the garlic cloves in, you put in some kosher salt, and then you just keep grinding it until it becomes a paste. Or if you're really slow and impatient like me, you get a bullet, you put it in the bullet with a little bit of olive oil. On the mortar and pestle you need olive oil too. Add a little bit of olive oil, a little bit of salt, and you just twist it and it becomes paste, and it's so easy to use when you do that. All right, these are coming along really nice. Aren't they a pretty color? Look at that. I think we're good for our 3 cloves of garlic. From my perspective, that would be about 3 cloves. Now I'm going to be adding the mushrooms. And you can use any mushroom you want. You can have shiitake, you can have portobello, you can have perini, whichever mushrooms you enjoy. So I have got 8 ounces of sliced mushrooms here that are going to go right in. And we're going to cook all of that down. If you think this is looking good, you should be standing in my kitchen right now, because it smells outrageous. So good. I love cooking so much, and I love serving things that are just fragrant and beautiful, and Now, trust me, cameraman has had his many shares of mistakes, right, cameraman?
Correct.
Many shares of mistakes.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you know what? That's okay. It's only a mistake if you didn't learn from it. If you learn from it, it was a learning experience. Well, over all of these 70 years that I've been cooking, trust me, I've had many learning experiences. We want 3/4 of a cup of Marcella wine, and this is the one I'm using, which is just a nice Marcella. If you have an aversion to using a wine in your cooking, skip it. I think you're going to notice a difference in the flavor, because the wine has a very intense flavor. But also understand that most of the alcohol burns off when you're cooking it like this. Now what you want to do at this point, after you've added your garlic, your onions, your mushroom, you've got your Marcella. Once you've got your Marcella in there, now you want to bring it up to a boil, and then as soon as it starts to boil, reduce it and just let it simmer. You want everything in this pan to become friends. You want all of those flavors to blend. And nothing is overpowering. You'll find when you try this dish, it's not going to be, oh my gosh, there's so many onions, or oh my gosh, that garlic is overpowering. None of that is going to happen. It's just going to be a beautiful blend. So all we're doing now is we're just letting those mushrooms just soften. I think one of the wonderful things are the memories that you develop when you're in your kitchen. You really do. My grandkids, who, if you watch our channel, you know they are just the light of my life, and cameramans too. They're in Texas right now, and we can't hardly even watch pictures of them because it makes us cry. But anyway, when they would walk in, and it was my middle grandson, Matthew, said, "Oh, Grandma, I love coming to your house. It always smells so good because I'm always cooking something. And when the kids are over, I always cook what they love, you know? I want them to have those rich, rich memories." The very first thing that all three, Michael, Matthew, and Maverick, all three of them, the very first thing they learned to make when they were like 2.5 and 3 years old, whipping cream. Whipping cream. I mean, you pour it in, you add some sugar, you whip it up, which they did all of it, and then the joy. Okay, stick your finger in. What do you think? Whoa. And that, I think, sets the foundation for their love of cooking. Cook with your kids. Let them enjoy it. Let them have the fun of it. All right, now our mushrooms are getting kind of tender here. Come take a look. They're getting pretty tender. So now we want to have some chicken stock. And we want 1 1/4 cup of chicken stock. And once again, we're going to bring this up to a boil, so I'm kicking the heat up a little bit. When it comes to a boil, then I'm going to reduce it down to a simmer. It's going to simmer for 5 minutes. I think we're so fortunate now that we have YouTube, and anybody can become an amazing chef. Really an amazing chef of your kitchen. It doesn't mean you're going to be a professional chef. When I watch them go and they cut a cucumber like in a 1.5 seconds, I mean, I admire them so much for that. It's not my focus. I don't want to have to practice on 9,000 pounds of cucumbers to be able to do that. But I will tell you, I love watching it, and I love seeing their skill and knowing how hard it was to develop those skills. But to be an excellent cook, you don't have to do that. You just don't. All right, we're at a boil now, so I'm going to reduce it down to a simmer. It's going to simmer for about 5 minutes. See how much this has reduced. So the more reduction you get here, the more intensity of flavor you're going to get. And now we're going to add 3 tablespoons of heavy, whoa! That was a fast pour. And once you put the cream in, you do not want it to come to a boil. So we're just going to let this simmer. Just heat it through. Now, the spaghetti, you will see, and you will know when it's getting done. And this one is done, but you'll see your water has started to change color. Where it was very clear before, now it becomes very pasty looking. And the reason for that is that the starch is being extracted from the spaghetti itself. Now we are going to take this over here and drain it. I I like to give it a little bit of a swish and get the rest of the starch out of it. Okay. Now we're going to get ready to plate it. What we want to do is add the chicken back in. Oh, come on, you. There. Oh, come and take a look at this, you guys. Oh my goodness sakes. Absolutely delicious. Okay. All right, give me 1 minute. I'm going to plate it and then we will be back and I'll show you the finished product. Here we are complete. The entire dinner probably only took about a half hour, really. And that was the majority of the time was not in food preparation. It was just watching the chicken fry. It really took very little time. So what we would do is just sprinkle a little bit of parsley over the top. Put a little bit on your plates too. Make your plates look pretty. A little bit of Parmesan on the pasta. And all we need now is an amazing taste. All righty. Get a little bit of mushroom on there and a little bit of onion. It's really good, you guys. Really is. Yeah. A lot of flavor, a lot of compound flavor in that sauce. I think you could serve that to anyone and they would really, really enjoy it. So let me just give a little bit more on the mushroom. Oh yeah, that's good. So
that's my favorite. Yeah, that's great.
We're gonna have a wonderful dinner tonight. I hope you do as well. Come back, subscribe. Ingredients will be below so you can make the whole thing yourself. Thank you for coming. We will see you again on the next video. Bye.